Welcome back everyone, Joe Blow here with another video, and today I want to talk about the death of the internet and enshittification. So the reason I want to make this video today is because I think the internet is garbage now. You think about it, the internet is something, it's about 20-25 years old now. When it first came out, it was exciting. You could search anything you wanted in the world and you would get an instant hit or result on it. It was, for all intents and purposes, the world's biggest library. However, in the last 2 or 3 years, the internet has become nothing more than the world's largest billboard. You know, if you don't believe me, Google something today and you will be given about 3 or 4 adverts at the top. You will be given, and then under that you will be given several links to a random thread on Reddit or some video linking to TikTok, and you don't actually get what you need. It takes quite a lot of dedicated digging to actually get a decent result, and a lot of this can be attributed to monopolies taking over now. You know, Google is now a monopoly. I think it there was a court case over it because I don't think it liked to be thought of as a monopoly, but it is a monopoly for all intents and purposes. But it's not just Google. Think about any online service or app that you've been using that perhaps was once great 10 years ago, but is garbage now. I don't think you'll be able to find one. You can link this to something like dating apps, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and so on and so on. And what's happened with a lot of this, these apps, is enshittification. Now, enshittification is a term coined by one Cory Doctorow back in 2023, and it's the phenomena by which a service comes out that gives you loads of brilliant free content, optionality. It brings in a big user base, but then it has to appeal to its business partners. So then all of a sudden you start seeing adverts appearing on your preferred app, and then before long you have to start paying for those once great free services, pay to play, so to speak. But eventually what happens to that product is it turns to shit and people stop using it. But by then, the business owners have squeezed out every penny they can out of their customer base. Rinse, repeat. And I tell you what all of this reminds me of now, and this might appeal to more of the sort of Gen X generation above. Have you ever seen that movie, They Live, by John Carpenter, with the brilliant Rowdy Roddy Piper and Keith David? And Rowdy Roddy Piper sort of plays the part of the everyman. He's sort of like this drifter who's like this construction worker. He walks around with his own toolkit and he's basically looking for work, and the world is kind of, everyone's sort of on hard times now. Sound familiar? You know, considering this film was made back in the 80s. And anyway, he finds these pair of glasses, and when he puts them on, he sees the world for what it really is. You know, he sees billboards, and underneath the subliminal messaging is very, very clear. It'll say things like, you know, money is your God, consume me, obey me, worship me, so on and so on. And when he sees certain people, he sees them for what they are, which is skinless, demonic entities that aren't remotely human at all. And I kind of feel that's how we've gotten now with the internet. The internet is no longer the world's largest library. it's the world's largest billboard, you know, and you do wonder, is that why people feed into this whole notion of doom scrolling or death scrolling? You know, this notion that, you know, you can spend, you think to yourself, oh, I'm going to watch a movie tonight, and then you go onto Netflix or Amazon Prime, and this is a classic case of enshittification, and you spend 30 minutes scrolling through film after film after film, and there's nothing on there for you to watch, or the films you do want to watch are behind some sort of paywall because you have to either rent or buy. But I mean, with that online content as well, you don't ever truly own it. So you can have a vast library of purchased films. You think, yeah, those films are mine. No, they're not. Even though there's the option to rent or buy, it's always rent, because the moment you drop that service, that entire library, that extensive library you bought, it's all gone. I learnt that quickly when a couple of years back I actually got YouTube Premium. They offer you, you know, the first month's usually always free, and then like everyone else, you sort of forget about the next month and you cancel your free subscription. You pay, and at the time that was £14. Don't know what it is now. It might be something like more like £17-18. But the functionality of YouTube Premium was you didn't get any adverts in videos, which is great, and you could download content to listen to offline. So you could download your favourite videos onto your account, which was really, really great for them to sort of go about and listen to a video or podcast. About after a couple of months, I thought YouTube Premium was just a little bit too expensive for what it was offering. So I shut that down, and all that downloaded content that I had was gone. And I suspect this would be the same with anything like your Amazon Prime account, Netflix, Kindle, all those books you've saved. You know, they're not really yours. They're only yours as long as you have a membership. So, and it just makes me think, where are we going to go? You know, are companies really too big today to fail? Because you think to yourself, well, why don't we just use DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, or anything like that? But they're more or less all the same as Google now. It's all still, everything's heavily monetized, everything's heavily advertised, and you just think you just can't get away from it all. And I do think we're kind of entering that sort of technology fatigue era now. I know what some people are saying, oh, well look Joe, you're on the internet now, you're using YouTube, blah blah blah. But it's like anything in life, you know, moderation. Too much of anything is always bad, you know. Too much of the internet is bad, you know. If you take too much junk food, it's bad. If you exercise too much, you're going to be subject to injuries and so forth. Everything's about moderation. You know, maybe people can say, oh, the alternative, just don't do anything. But for those people that literally do nothing and they spend all day doing nothing, well, you're spending too much. It's too much of nothing, and that doesn't lead to anything good, you know. So where do we go from here? Are we going to see a decline in internet usage? I did talk about in my last video about Gen Z perhaps being the hope for the future, but God, if there's anyone that's plugged into the internet more than any other generation, it's certainly them. I mean, I can remember, and this will appeal to, you know, some of the older members watching, that I can remember the time before the internet. You know, I can remember a time in the 90s where, you know, if you wanted to go out, you called your friends to see what they were doing. You went out, you know, there wasn't any of this stuff posting pictures on the internet for the world to see. But everything is just incredibly digitized now. And, you know, we have digitized footprints. And you think to yourself, all that stuff that you put out there, especially on social media sites like Facebook and everything like that, it all gets sold off. You know, your information is being sold. You know, you are the product. So even when you think you've got social media content and you think, oh, this is free, you know, like take something like a porn site. Well, no, there's no such thing as a free lunch. There is no such thing as free. You are the product, because you are eyeballs on the screen, and whatever adverts they've got in the background, they know you're going to be looking at it. I mean, for Christ's sakes, you can't talk about anything these days either without your phone's earwigging. And it's not so much 1984, more Brave New World, where your phones are basically listening to everything you're saying or doing, and it's applying advertisement to that thought, you know, which for now seems relatively benign, if not incredibly corporatized. But you do wonder that at any point in the future that could become much more insidious. Anyway, that's really what I wanted to say today. Are some of you sick of the internet now? How much of a social media presence do you have? Do you think we could ever go back to a time without the internet, or do you think the internet could ever revert to a time where it was 20 years ago, where it was used primarily as a great big information hub? Speak to you soon, guys.